Hello everybody and welcome to Parks Bros. It's Drew here. And today, as you can see, we've made our way to the second installment in the Roller Coaster Tycoon series, and that is, of course, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. Now, this game is probably the most famous of all of the Roller Coaster Tycoon games for a good bunch of reasons. It really perfected the original game and added some really nice stuff, including some really cool parks that you might know and love from the real world. And that is the world of Six Flags, the entertainment company based in Texas, specifically right across the street from Six Flags Over Texas, which you can see is actually in the game, as well as tons of other Six Flags parks, and two of which are not even Six Flags parks anymore. But this game is from 2002, so I figured it would be cool to step back to my home Six Flags park, Six Flags Magic Mountain, and step back in time to 2002 and be able to look at what Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 thought of this awesome park. So let's get right into it and travel there now. Boom, look at that loading time. That was insane. Oh my gosh, so quick. Now, of course, with Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, every single map has a campaign objective, and this one is to repay our loan and be able to get a park value of $700,000. But we're not going to worry about that today because we're just going to look around this awesome recreation of Six Flags Magic Mountain from over a decade ago and almost a full 2 decades ago now, which is insane. But here, of course, is the iconic front entrance. It doesn't have the Six Flags Magic Mountain sign up there, which is completely okay. There's actually quite a bit missing from this recreation, but here you can see some of those stalls letting you in, and of course, that awesome entrance out front that is customized even for RCT2. Man, it looks so cool. But here's the front entrance walkway that you can see right here. Super similar to real life, just a lot smaller. This is usually where you get your flash pass, and of course funnel cakes are sold right here, as well as ice cream is sold just over there. Now, of course, there's some things that you might not see in real life in general, like this fountain of an elephant dancing. That usually wouldn't be anywhere at a Six Flags park, at least that I can think of. Now, of course, once we walk past that, we've got some shops on our left and right, as well as, of course, the carousel over here, which is really cool. But we get up to that main entrance pathway to see this awesome fountain brought to the virtual world that you can see at Magic Mountain itself, as well as Revolution, the classic Revolution at that, from many years past, and it is just absolutely awesome to see this Schwarzkopf Looper, this iconic roller coaster brought to life, or virtual life, I should say, in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. Oh my gosh, here it goes through that 5G loop. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But now, we're actually going to take a step to the right and see some things that we may have never seen before, especially if you've not been at the park very long. Now, you can see a monorail ring across. That was something that was at the park originally, which is really cool to see a return to that, as well as the scrambler is over here at the front entrance of the park almost. And we come to our first major roller coaster besides Revolution. This is Flashback. Now, this coaster only operated for about a decade and a half at Magic Mountain, and it was part of the ride rotation program throughout the Six Flags parks in the 80s. This was an Intamin space diver, one of the only ones ever built, and it is pretty notorious for its ridiculously janky ride, but you can see it here at Magic Mountain in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, which is really cool to see, especially since not many people I know have been able to ride it. There was only about maybe a good 3 or 4 people that I know personally that got to ride this back in the 90s when it was operating under seasonal operation. But man, so cool to see it in this recreation. And of course, Logjammer, the ever famous log flume ride that now its space has been taken up by Full Throttle, the premier launch coaster I'm sure you know, which actually had the tallest loop in the world at one point. But You can see that monorail going through right there. It's so cool to see that much kinetic energy in that area, as well as Gold Rusher moving along right next to Logjammer. That's such a cool thing to see. Now, of course, RCT does not have the most accurate trains for a lot of coasters, especially with Gold Rusher, so don't be surprised by some inaccuracies all around, but then again, you gotta remember, this is really a 2D game in 3D space, so it's not gonna be too accurate anyways, but Logjammer is so cool to see, especially for someone like me who never got to ride it. My first visit wasn't until 2016 to Six Flags Magic Mountain. By that time, Full Throttle had taken up its place. Now, of course, we have this awesome California-themed area, which is still vaguely themed to California, and for some reason, there's another scrambler right here. It's supposed to be another ride, I'm sure, and then, of course, a fun house, which is kind of cool to see that, and a circus. Definitely not something that I could say was at Magic Mountain at that time, but there was a pet show as well as an animal show in this area of the park at one point. Oh no, Revolution broke down. That's not good. Hopefully the mechanics will get on that fairly quick. Now, another thing that is no longer at the park is the Granny Grand Prix. I don't know if this is actually a ride or not. I don't think it is. I'm not entirely sure though, because I'm not exactly the best Magic Mountain historian, especially in the early 2000s, so if it was a real thing, let me know. I do know Goliath Jr., now Magic Flyer, is not there, so do let me know, though, in the comments if that was a real thing. Now, of course, the big stop, Goliath, is the next thing we come across with even a custom sign. This, when I was growing up, was the most iconic image from this entire park. When I saw that sign in game, I was like, you know what, I want to go here. And little did I know, Magic Mountain was only about a 2-hour drive away, and I didn't end up visiting until very much later on, a good decade plus later on. But let's get a good overhead view of Goliath. Man, look at that monstrosity in game. Just such a cool thing to see. And everything's pretty accurate. I mean, the station building, of course, doesn't have too many supports, but what can you do? It's just Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. But of course, another really amazing thing that we'll get to a little later is the fact that the original Colossus is in the background right there. That is something that no longer exists because it has been RMC'd to become Twisted Colossus, so now it has metal track, which is really something crazy to look back on and see it with wooden track, even though it's in virtual form. But man, look at Goliath gliding along the track. It really does look like a standout at the park, and at the time, it really was. It was even the tallest full-circuit roller coaster when it first opened at the beginning of the millennia. Now, let's move on to the pirate area. It would seem we have Buccaneer, at least no Swashbuckler. I know I said that kind of weird, but it is another scrambler for some reason. So there is a Swashbuckler, but it's a scrambler, not a swing ride. So that's kind of a little weird. I think they probably could have made that a swing ride. But then Food Etc. is still here, and it's even got some food inside, which is nice. Now, of course, you got to cover your ears for what's next. We've come across the Escape. Now, of course, in this game, I don't believe they got any of the DC licensing approved, so it is literally called The Escape. Back in 2002, though, it was called Superman The Escape, and it launched you to 100 miles an hour up over 400 feet in the air. This is something that's still at the park today, but it doesn't let you face forwards anymore, and it's got a different name. It's now called Superman Escape from Krypton, and it launches you backwards 100 miles an hour. So that's something really cool, and it's got a brand new paint job as well. It's not just gray, it's red, blue, and yellow like Superman himself in his clothing, but something really cool to see in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, that is for sure. Now we'll move around that real quick to Colossus. Now, of course, at this time, Scream was not at the park. That wouldn't come for another couple years, but Colossus, one of the most amazing coasters of its time, a dueling racing coaster that was wooden at the park and was the tallest, fastest, and longest when it opened. Now, it's just so cool to see this because I never actually got to experience Colossus myself. I got to experience Twisted Colossus, though, plenty of times, almost 100 now. and I really would have loved to have been able to come to the park a little earlier to experience this wooden gem. I heard it was still smooth till the day it was closed and was still one of the best rides in the park, so I really kind of am sad that I never got to ride the original, but at least we can see it in virtual form here in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. Now, we're going to move on from those. Oh my gosh, those lines are filled for Colossus. I can't blame them. Dueling rides are almost so much fun. But now we come across a motion simulator, which a little unexpected, as well as a lot of blank space. But a big thing about this scenario is the fact that it wants you to build a lot of the rides, which is really cool. And Enterprise, if there was an Enterprise, let me know, because that would have been really cool to be able to ride at Six Flags Magic Mountain. We have another monorail station here. It's called the Metro, by the way, and it did go around a lot of the park, and it does in the game as well. Now, something that's still here in the park, in the game, is Tidal Wave. Now, of course, we know Tidal Wave quite well today. Actually, it has some markers that have shown up in the past couple of months, and we've been hearing some rumors that it might be gone fairly soon, but it's really cool to see Tidal Wave at least in this area. Now, of course, there is no DC Universe section over here, as well as no Batman. But I think that's because of licensing, as well as trying to get you to build Batman yourself. And another thing you'll see that's missing from the park was Riddler's Revenge. Probably another licensing thing, as well as making you try and build that stand-up coaster in this back section of the park. Now, that might be something I might try and do. I might try and recreate what Magic Mountain is kind of like today, or potentially, if you guys would like to see what I would personally do to Magic Mountain after this time, I'd really love to hear what you guys would like to see. I am totally down for doing some types of videos from RCT2 and whatever you guys would like, a campaign mode, a sandbox potentially, or just what I would do to Magic Mountain as well as other Six Flags parks. Or if you guys would like some more tours of other Six Flags parks, let me know down in the comments below. I'd really love to hear what you guys have to say. But here is a great look at Gold Rusher going up that second lift hill and sprawling throughout its layout. Oh, it's really cool to see that. And of course, Sand Blasters, the original name for the bumper cars, now called Jammin' Bumpers. And as you can see, no scrambler over here. Tons of scramblers throughout the rest of the park, but no scrambler over here. I kind of find that a little funny. And of course, you could see some layout differences with Gold Rusher, but that's completely fine. You can't get it perfect in a game like Roller Coaster Tycoon. But here is the Escape, as it is known in this game, just coming back to the station there. So, and they can race, and they do race if both are operating perfectly, but you can even see there's stairs there. There aren't stairs there in real life, but that's completely okay. I kind of want to watch it go out. Oh, there we go. Racing all the way down, and then going all 3/4 of the way up. But man, so cool to see all this. Here's just a quick overhead view of what we've seen so far. Love it so much. And here, of course, is the parking lot right next to Colossus and Goliath. But now let's zoom back in. Try and get to back where we were. There's Gold Rusher Station. They have a little food area, which is pretty true to what it is today. And now you can start to see Jetstream as well as Ninja in this section of the park. And Jetstream is pretty freaking great looking, I must say, as well as Ninja is just absolutely stunning on the mountainside in real life as well as in the game itself. A little janky, but what can you do? That's just the game for you. But besides that, an info booth, which is nice to see that again, and of course Samurai Summit looking all great and fine. But first we're gonna go a little farther over to Cyclone 500, the go-karts. Now you can actually ride these go-karts today, but they are now called the Pacific Speedway in a brand new section called the Underground. Now back when this game was made, this was Cyclone Bay, and it included a coaster, a wooden coaster in specific. Cyclone. Yeah, that's right. This was one of the most dreaded rides of the park, said to be ridiculously rough and just unbearable in every way. So I'm kind of glad I didn't get to ride this, but this was replaced by, of course, Apocalypse the Ride a couple years later, and it's just cool to see this mostly hated wooden coaster up here in this game. Now, something that was beloved was right next door, and that is Deja Vu. You can see this amazing Vekoma boomerang, or should I say Vekoma giant inverted boomerang that would take you up 90 degrees before dropping you and making you go back and forth throughout this layout. Something that I actually was looking forward to more than anything else with my first visit to Magic Mountain. When I first visited, I didn't really know what happened to Deja Vu. I thought it was still here because of this game. I thought that all of the rides were still at the park that I saw from my youth inside this awesome video game. But I was sorely mistaken. I got to the back of the park and was looking for Deja Vu and didn't see it. And I was very, very sad about that. But then I found out it moved to Six Flags New England and got some new trains. And now it's not as highly recommended as it was prior, which kind of makes me sad. But I really wish I could have gotten to ride Deja Vu when it was originally at Magic Mountain. But now we're going to pass those restrooms right there, head up towards Samurai Summit, watch Roaring Rapids as it goes around with waterfalls and jets galore. This is really cool looking. I always love the raft rides in Roller Coaster Tycoon. Pass Jetstream and Ninja a little bit to get to the observation tower. Now, of course, this observation tower is no longer open. It was more specifically called Sky Tower, I should say, and both decks are open in the game, which is really cool to see, but this has not been something that's been possible for over a decade now, which is really sad. But yeah, I really wish we could have gotten a view from up there. At least personally, I would have loved that. But here is just a quick look at Ninja, which is roaring down the hillside. Such a cool thing to see. And then, of course, you have the Helpful Honda Express as it's known today, or back then it was called the Orient Express. Now, this ride is literally made just to take you up and down the mountain, and it is absolutely awesome. You should definitely check it out on a hot day, especially so you don't have to walk too far, unless you want to get to something like Tatsu, which would be about right here. But it does not exist at this time. So we're going to keep going down this pathway to one of two arrows at this corner of the park. The first being Viper, which is absolutely amazing in recreation form. Look at that. Oh my gosh, and it's going through the corkscrews. This is so cool. I love Viper personally. It's really hated by a lot of people, but I personally think it's one of the best rides in the park. But it's a classic arrow looper, and it is by far one of my favorites. It's so cool. Oh my gosh, that was brutal. Why is the block section like that? Now, of course, once passing Viper, you'll find a bridge right here, which they even have in the game itself, which will lead you towards X2, or as it was known back in 2002 as X. Look at that color scheme. This is insane to look at this color scheme nowadays. It is just so bright and in your face. I can't get over it. I definitely would say I prefer the red and black. That is 100% sure. But man, it's so cool to see X on this game, especially with it being one of its first years in operation, and really getting to see the true impact it had. I mean, the problem is, though, sadly, it's super intense, so in the game, it'll usually have less riders than Viper or many of the other attractions, like Flashback will have so many more riders than X for some reason, but I think that's just because of how the game really goes about its ratings, so it's probably too intense. Actually, let's check out the intensity ratings for X, if I can find it. Yeah, nausea rating and intensity rating both being very high. I think it's the nausea rating that's really going to off-put a lot of people. But, I mean, it's a fantastic ride in real life, I would say. Very polarizing, though, that is for sure. Now, as we head back towards the entrance, you'll see there's a haunted house here. I don't think there was a haunted house there originally, but we'll also come across the entrance of Revolution right here, which is really cool to see as well. Now we've made it all the way back to the entrance of Six Flags Magic Mountain in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 form. Here's just an overhead of the entire park. It is pretty freaking accurate for a 16-bit game in 2002, that is for sure. It looks absolutely amazing, and it really makes me think about what the park was like more than a decade and a half ago. It actually makes me pretty sad, the fact that I never got to check it out myself. Now, of course, if you got to visit the park back then, I hope this was a nice little piece of nostalgia for you. or if you just like playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, I hope that was helpful in getting some nostalgia as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little tour of Six Flags Magic Mountain in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. If you guys would like to see me check out some other Six Flags parks in the game, please let me know. I would love to do so. As well as any other series in RCT2 that you would like to see, I will totally do it. And I honestly can't wait to play more of this game after finding it this afternoon. But I do want to say thank you so much for watching and making 3 years on YouTube really something special. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't, because we're going to be posting a heck of a lot over the next weeks and months. But until next time, we'll see you on the next ride.